Afternoon to you. This is the what I call the HDD. This is the Heavy Duty Dolly. I have been thinking about this for some time, and basically I decided that today was the day. I was going to put aside all the other cares and woes and demands of the world and all the other things I'm supposed to do for other people, and kind of do something for myself. Basically, this project is had a couple criteria. A, wanted to make something quick and dirty in an afternoon. B, I wanted to kind of keep the cost down. Everybody wants to keep the cost down. I'd like to have a space shuttle for $1. I don't think I'm going to get one. So anyway, this is a close substitute. And I wanted to make something build something, make something, and do it with minimalistic tools. The hammer drill that you see there doesn't count. That's just to let you know the size of this. Basically, this has fixed casters for the middle and rotatable or braking casters on all 4 ends, so you can spin this thing in a big circle, basically. Yeah, the other idea behind this thing is it had to be, like the name implies, it had to be well built. I could have built this out of some metal, yeah. I could have built it out of aluminum, yeah. But I don't want to. I wanted to do something that the average person in the street could do. Hopefully with the video that follows, your kids could do this. There are only 8 cuts to that lumber. All that lumber is dimensional lumber. It's all 2x4s that was purchased at the home center or the lumberyard. And if you're really nice, they may do what they call a courtesy cut. Sometimes they'll cut a board. They'll give you 1 free cut for every board you buy. So you could theoretically have them cut all this and do no cuts. I cut this, you'll see in the video, with my power miter box. But you could do this with a handsaw or just a basic hand-powered miter box. Would work just fine. Matter of fact, you could, if you really wanted to, you could find an old crummy hacksaw and do this. It would take a while, but you could do it. So, the lumber is off the shelf. Those casters I had for free. My suggestion is that you prowl around, look for some old casters, look on Craigslist or Free Cycle or some estate sales. Look around. You don't have to go buy casters. One of the stores that I bought supplies at, I did see casters, and they weren't cheap. I don't know where I got those. I got those with this project in mind. It's taken me 2 years to get around to spending an afternoon to build something that I should have built 2 years ago. The casters are rated at almost 500 pounds each. I'm not sure what that rates the whole thing at. Basically, that lumber is sandwiched up. And it's just 2x4s, and there's 16 of them. What I did was I bought 8 2x4x8 pieces of 2x4 and cut them in half, exactly in half, and then laminated them up. Those are glued together and nailed. And your tools pretty limited on this project. You'll need a hammer, a builder square, a tape measure. You'll need some, well, it's not a tool, maybe a socket set. That's about it. You'll need some glue. You don't have to have glue. You need some nails. There are 24 lag bolts and washers in there. There are 6 total casters. 4 of them swivel, 2 don't. And that's about it. It's really pretty basic. The reason I built this is I'm tired. I've got I don't know, from time to time I move very heavy objects, and I'm tired of struggling trying to move them. And this would help me move them around. So, and this is kind of what I'm going to call a junk box project. You can change the dimensions of this. You know, don't lock into what I'm doing. I'm just giving you an idea. You could use smaller casters. You could buy some bigger casters. They make them bigger. You know, you might find some casters off a dumpster or something, or an old toolbox. One of the reasons I built this is and I'll mention this in the video again, you'll hear this again, is I'm kind of tired of going to the store and seeing these overpriced dollies for $40 and $50, and they'll hold 900 pounds. No, they won't. It's up to before it collapses. That baby will hold way more than 900 pounds. And you know, if you treat it right, it'll probably last forever. There's nothing to break. I mean, the caster might break. You'll probably hurt yourself first. Be careful. But so that's kind of the idea behind this project. What follows is the collection of videos I took while I was building the thing. I usually don't edit my videos. I will warn you ahead of time that project weighs a lot. I'll bet that whole thing weighs 75, 80, I don't know. It may weigh 100 pounds. It's not a toy. So if you need something lightweight to scooch the couch around at home, not so much. But if you need to move, you know, an engine block, or, you know, I don't know, a couple welders, transmission out of a car, something bigger, substantial, this might be the thing for you. Okay, well, enough gib gab, and we'll get on to the construction phase of this project. I want to thank the people that watch my videos. And if you have a question or a comment, or like I said in the video later on, if you want to build one of these and send me a video response, that'd be cool. It'd be great to see some other people build some. You know, I know some other people have built dollies, that's all there is to it. You know, whether it be an industrial scale tank, or, you know, something for moving your plants around the house. This is kind of just to spark some interest, get you to build something, think about it. You don't have to build it right away, too. It took me 2 years to get off my butt and do it. So go ahead and sit down and take some time. Sorry the videos are kind of long. I don't edit out the faux pas too much. There's a few edits in this one to kind of cut it down a little bit. Nobody wants to see me glue and stick 16 boards together. So take her easy. Sit down and take her easy. Thanks. Well, there's another 30 minutes out of my life I'll never get back. I get up there and there's this huge line of people at the lumberyard checkout, and everybody's screwing around, and apparently I get the feeling that all these people were contractors, they were charging things, and man, does that take a long time for them folks to check out. How about no gib gab, cash and go? All I bought was 8 premium 2x4s at $2.62 a piece. There's 20 some dollars worth of $22 worth of lumber. Although a lot of it is tax. Damn. This will probably be one of these huge mistakes, but I'm gonna build this anyway. I suppose it'd be a lot lighter if I build a frame and then put plywood over it, but I don't think it'd be as strong. I need something heavy duty. You wonder where your time to disappears too. I'll tell you what, let's dart into the neighborhood here and not wait for the... I suppose I could have made something out of steel, but actually this is a project I figured that the average person with a few tools could build. You probably need maybe a drill and an adjustable wrench, a hammer and some nails, maybe some glue. Can't think of anything else I'm gonna need. Maybe a tape measure, pencil. To be real honest, it annoys me to no end when you go to the store and they want to sell you a dolly for $20 and they got crummy lumber, crummy twisted lumber from overseas, bad padding, and really crummy casters. But I love this hill. These bozos park on it illegally, and then we get to take the brunt of whoever's flying up over the hill. Okie dokie. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll unload the lumber and see what we got here. Take her easy. Well, this is a little bit further down the road on my super dolly, for lack of a better word, or moving cart, whatever you want to call it, the Heavy Duty Dolly, HDD. Yeah. Sounds like a disease. Anyway, yeah, I'll sharpen the old pencil. This is where having a carpenter's pencil might be a little better, but that's okay. I don't. Amazingly enough, I don't have a carpenter's pencil. And interestingly enough, on the television, they had some little, I don't know, what do you want to call it, article, news blurb, whatever, about guys, this guy professionally sharpens pencils and has a certificate and all this weird stuff. Okie dokie. Anyway, what I've done is I went and got some dimensional lumber. It's 2x4s, which really aren't 2x4s. I think they're 1.5 inches, aren't they? 1.5 inches by 1.5 by 3.5. So a little shrinkage there. These were premium, which is okay. Anyway, these are 8 foot long, and they're exactly 8 foot long. I measured a couple of them, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them in half, exactly in half, which will be just a tiny bit under 4 foot. I'm going to mark them in half, and then I'm going to mark where the cut is. What I'm going to do is split them all in half and then line up all the factory cut edges, trying to make this as smooth as possible. I've got a chop saw here that I've had for a while. Amazingly enough, I actually bought this. I had a project, and I've used it quite a bit. And actually, I think the reason I bought it is it came with it was an accessory, special value pack. You know, don't tell your mom. It came with that screw, locking screw, and these 2 wings, which I took advantage of. And to be real honest, it's a Delta, and I think it was made in the U.S. It tells you how long ago I bought that thing. But it's been a really good saw. I can't complain about it. I mean, it's, you know, it's a power miter box. So let's start off by cutting a few of these babies. I wear glasses. Actually, I wear safety glasses during the day. And you might want to don some hearing protection, although there's absolutely nothing to stop you from whipping out the old handsaw and chopping into these babies. There's only 8 cuts. It's not going to kill you. And it might be good practice. But I'm feeling kind of lazy today. The other thing you're going to need is a tape measure. I got my pencil, my chop saw. And I'm going to use a builder square or a roofing square, whatever you like to call it, to lay out the lines there. You could use what they call a speed square too. I really like this little vise. It's kind of nice. When I draw a line on a piece of wood, I draw, I'll exaggerate it here. I say this is where you want to put the mark on your ruler, right there. I make an arrow, so it points to it. That way it kind of gives you a little split in the middle, but you can use whatever you want. So we got our arrow right there, and just measure it. Might be smart to measure the whole 2x4 again. And don't forget that the saw blade eats up a little bit, so you may want to take that into account. I'm just going to divide the line right in half with the saw blade. You might want to get yourself a builder square. There's a lot of sneaky little things that, if you get one that comes with a book. Although if you get a used one, there won't be a book. You can hunt a book down on the internet. I think I paid absolutely nothing for the. I've actually got probably a dozen builder squares. I buy them at auctions, and people just throw them away. Matter of fact, one time I had so many of them, I couldn't give them away. I couldn't sell them. I couldn't give them away on Craigslist. I actually took them to the salvage yard. I had that many of them. It was really kind of sad. I tried my best to get rid of them. So let's cut some wood. Yeah, you're in pretty good shape there. We'll put this over here out of the way. Try and keep your work area free from debris. And this. I had a big radial arm saw. I could make a jig with stops on the end and just set it. Would be a lot easier. Actually, put that block down there. Working with lumber is something you may want to know. So my suggestion is you root around and find some scraps and build some rudimentary project. This would glassify. When I put the lumber away, marking the factory edge with an X so I can stack all the X's up. That way all those edges will be pretty nice shape. I might have to take a circular saw or find a big radial arm saw to true the edges up. It may not be that bad and I may not worry about it. I might be able to belt sand it off of there. Oh, we just keep it marking. Like I said, one of the things I'm doing here is I'm measuring the whole piece of lumber first, just to make sure that it really is 8 foot. You know, if it's 6 foot and I just measure, let's say the piece is, well, let's exaggerate. Let's say I get a piece and it's 6 foot, and I measure, I think I'm splitting 8 foot lumber. I measure in, 4 foot, and all of a sudden I've got a 2 foot piece and a 4 foot piece. Does not hurt anything to whip out your tape measure and measure something twice. And here's a little helpful hint. Let's say, let's just call it a job site. It's our job site. Let's say you've got some friends and they're helping you and you're all working together. You really need to do one of two things. Test all your tape measures to make sure they're all the same. Just mark off a piece of wood or measure a piece of wood, make sure they all come out the same. And any of them that are over or under, you need to kind of get them out of the mix. Or you need to just use one single tape measure. I'm not going to tell you why, because you need to figure that out on your own. Really like this saw. One of the nice features it's got is when you shut the motor off, it kicks a brake into gear and slows the blade down. Makes a nice feature. You don't have to be frightened or scared about using, table saws or power saws, but you do have to respect them. And the minute you don't, you get a little warning like this. See that white place? That's from a table saw. That got off pretty lightly. It actually grew back, and the feeling came back after about a year. I was pretty lucky. That came from a table saw, and I'm not even going to tell you what dumb thing I was doing. Needless to say, it seems like to me, the minute you don't follow the rules or you do something that a tool isn't supposed to do, it lets you know and usually bites your hand off. And then you got a cool name like Lefty. And actually what your real name is dumbass, if you did something stupid with a power tool. I hate to tell you how many industrial-based accidents I've seen over the years. Some of them, they're not funny, but they are. You laugh at them a year or two later, they're funny, but not at the time. And I've seen some bad ones, some killer ones. They're definitely not funny, especially if it's somebody you know. Actually, if you want to know about working with wood or cutting some wood, and you even remotely have anybody that you know that knows how to do it, or they're going to build a deck or something, I strongly suggest you go intern or apprentice with them, for lack of a better word. It's a pretty valuable experience. I knew a little bit about it. We had Votech, so we had construction in school, so I knew a little bit about it, working with materials, but not in the real world. A friend conned me into helping him build a new deck for his house. Let me tell you, that was an experience. We learned a lot, and the best part was it was a mosquito-infested days that we did it on. But that's okay. Like I said, we learned a lot. Actually, this builder square is really a wreck. It's all rusted. It's covered with paint. It needs a good sanding. It was the first one I ran across. My real suggestion is to find a friend that does woodworking, either as a pastime or a living. And he probably has a name called Lefty. That's okay. This is probably pretty boring for you. And guess what? That's when you get hurt. The minute you get bored, for those of you that have done some of this before, you know what I'm talking about. Well, we've only got one more piece of lumber to go. One of the things you may not see is when I go to cut that line, I take the saw and just barely touch the wood, and you can see where it's going to cut, and if it's not going to be centered up on that line, I'm going to readjust it. It's a little helpful here. One more. How are we doing? Okay. Uh-oh. Well, I'm going to hurry up and do this, and then the battery's going to die. Okay, we're done. So we got all our lumber cut, and I'm going to go hunt some nails down and put you back on the charger. I wonder when this will die. So I've got 16 4-foot 2x4s. And I'm going to clean up my mess. And show you what we got here. So, I guess part whatever, 3? 2 or 3? 3. We'll start putting this together. Take her easy. Have a good day.
Okay, we're back. We made a little trip to the hardware store. Actually, a couple hardware stores. FYI, I went to... The first place I went was Tractor Supply. They have bulk hardware. And I bought 30 of these. That's Home Depot. 30 lag bolts. And I paid... Let's find out what I paid. There was a pound and a half almost, and they were $3 a pound. I paid $3.50 roughly, and I got 30 of them. Now, I noticed while I was at Home Depot, they had the same lag bolts, but they were 38 cents a piece. So what, 30, 38 times 30? What is that? About $10? .38 times. $11. That's a big difference. It's a third of the cost. And then I got 59 cents worth of flat washers. These are 5/8. The only reason I'm using these is it gives me a little wiggle room in the casters. Here's the casters I'm going to use. And it gives me a little rattle room in there. I'm going to put 2 swiveling ones at each end. And in the middle I've got a stationary one. So you can spin it around on itself pretty quick. These also have locks on them. And these are rated at, they're 8" by 2", and they're rated at 450 pounds. Yeah. And I've got 6 of them total. And I don't remember where I got these. Probably in some mad trade or some box of junk. I noticed that Tractor Supply they had a lot of casters up there. Some of them were rubber tires, which would really be great. They were small rubber tired casters, which would really be great if you were pushing something around in the grass or a really bumpy area like a rock road or something. Okay, basically in a nutshell, what I'm going to do is I'm going to laminate all these pieces of wood up. There's 16 of them there. That makes about... That makes approximately 2 foot wide. I believe technically it's 28 and some change. Or excuse me, 24 and a half actually. But that's 2 foot. And then I'm going to, in the corners, in the middle, I'm going to set those casters and bolt them in. There'll be 6 of them total. And this ought to make a... I haven't decided which way to put these yet. They've got kind of a rectangle base. Well, I guess technically they don't go that way. Yeah, they would fit that way though. Yeah. So there's kind of what the bottom of the thing would look like. It's basically a big 2x4 sandwich. I also got some glue at the hardware store. You know, I haven't bought any wood glue in probably 20 years. I don't think the last time I glued something together. But that's okay. This is Type Bond 2 Premium. It was $0.10 more than regular. And I'm just going to smear a couple rows of it on there. I mean, you could use any construction adhesive. You may not even want to use adhesive. It's up to you. And I bought a box of... that's like 5 pounds of, I think those are number 10. Those are number 10 nails, and they just barely stay inside there. They're like 2 7/8 inches, so they're about 1/8 of an inch short. What is that? Yeah, it's like 3 1/16. That's okay. Whatever fits. All I'm really trying to do is just go through one set. Actually, scooch those off. Something I did think about that I didn't think about ahead of time was you could certainly go out and find some salvage lumber. You know, a good candidate for this kind of a project would be the parts of like packing pallets. Certainly somebody you know has some packing pallets. Sometimes they're free for the grabbing on Craigslist or Free Cycle or one of those kind of places. So basically, in a nutshell, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to laminate all this up. I'm sure there's some woodworkers out there laughing their ass off for having a conniption fit. In a nutshell, this project is basically how to build a heavy-duty dolly with minimal tools. I could have certainly went and got a hand-powered miter box or just a saw and cut that lumber. This is all stuff you can get at the home center. And my goal here is to try and keep this, as cheap as possible. I could have really scrounged for lumber and made it cheaper, but I didn't. I noticed when I was up at Tractor Supply, they had some very small dollies there that were premium dollies. I love that word. The premium glue and premium dollies. So if I use premium glue in my dolly, does it make it a premium dolly? Get back to me. Drop me a message there or comment. They had a premium dolly for $40. Well, I spent $20 on lumber. So you do the math here. And I spent about $10 on nails and hardware. So what I'm going to do here is laminate this wood up. And basically what I'm going to do is lay down a strip or two of glue. And then drive probably either 6 or 10 nails in there to lock the thing together. I'm going to cheat a little bit and use these wood clamps to help me hold the thing together. The only bad thing is these clamps only go so big, and then I'm going to be kind of stuck. I suppose I could probably laminate them up in groups, but you know what? I've never had good luck doing that. I don't know. Let's just do this and see what happens. So if you remember earlier, I put X's on all the ends of the wood to keep it kind of herded together. I'm going to use my builder square to kind of help line the wood up too. So we will builder square. That one looks like a pretty good fit. Okay. And I'm just going to lay down a couple of rows of glue here. Really honest, I was going to buy a little foam brush to roll that glue out. Only want $1 or $2 for a crummy foam brush. I've got paint brushes in the house. I'm just not going to do it. Not worth the trouble. Okay. I'll tell you what, we'll grab that baby in the middle. That doesn't look too bad. That is pretty clear. What I'm going to try is... Oh, let's look at the... Oh, I don't want that. This looks so great. That glue will give you a little time to fiddle. That's pretty good. Around a little bit. You gotta watch, some of this glue is not waterproof or water resistant. This is, here it says spread heavy, clamp 30 minutes, do not stress 224 hours. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know, you don't have to do this if you don't want. You can start pounding nails. I kind of like to lay my stuff out a little bit so it looks like somebody gave it to him. And we'll put a few nails in here and there. How's that sound? I'll kind of decide here. We'll put a couple near the end a little bit. Now keep in mind, when you laminate this up, you're going to need to stagger the nails back and forth so they don't run into each other. Where those nails are made at, they're damn nice. They're coated, they got a rough head on them, and they aren't so damn rubbery that they're jumping around. This bench isn't the most solid surface to work with, but it's what I got. Now might be a good time to think about building some sawhorses. I've had so many I've lost track of them. It doesn't look too bad. It's not pretty, but it's not bad. That end is still in pretty good shape. It's kind of late to worry about this now. It could be worse. Okie dokie. So all you're going to do is just keep doing this over and over and over again. We'll get another piece of wood up here. There's the X. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the nails are on top of here. They're right there, right there, right there. So when I release this, I'm sure there are better ways to do it. You could glue this all up and clamp it together with a pipe clamp. This is just, you know, at this point, how you do it is kind of your own business. This is just one way of many. I'm laying down a couple pretty heavy beads of glue.
Again, we're just trying to get it close.
It's not rocket science. You can always go back later with a belt sander or something. Like I said, you go back later with a belt sander and flatten this all out. Or a jack plane. Good time to get your jack plane out. So we'll miss the nail here by going. Move on me? Kind of looks like it did. Tighten my clamp on it. Interesting. I have to start doing something different there. Clamp is not holding very good. Okie dokie, what am I doing? Tell you what we're going to do, we're going to change tactics a little bit. From now on I'm going to put one nail on that end after it lines up, and then line this end up. Clamps are holding terribly well. I was afraid of it. Okay. Yeah, my first bent over nail. Straighten that up enough to drive it in. Ah. Never said I was a carpenter. Okay. What do you know? It split that wood, son of a bee. That ain't any good. Let's dig that out of there. Damn it. Not good. I'm pleased about that. Now let's try put a nail a little further back. Dig that one out. Yeah, try the screwdriver first. This is one of the reasons I always or don't always edit my videos. Man, that nail was that stinks. Oh well. Okay, let's try another one here. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to shut you off because all you're going to see is this over and over and over and over and over again until that sandwich gets built up. And it's probably pretty boring. So I'll be back in a little bit. Take it easy.
Well, just a little update. We're about, I don't know, three quarters of the way done. I got 4 more boards to put together. Kind of changed how I was nailing this. I put one nail on the end, or blocked it up and leveled it off, and then I went to the other and pounded it in. Then I went to the other end and centered it up and then tapped it in. Then I put the 2 center ones in and then some middle ones. Just so you know, before you get too far along on this bad project, this baby must weigh, I don't know, just the body or the chassis alone weighs 50 pounds on this thing. Somebody said it was going to be light. That's okay. There's some things you could do to lighten it up. You could build a frame and put a couple, cap it with plywood. If you were really adventurous and had a router, you could gnaw out the middle sections of those, make like an I-beam a little bit. Like I said, this is just something you can do at home if you really need a super heavy-duty dolly. Using his hammer. Thought this hammer looked familiar. There you go. Look for the Union label. Pretty good. I've put about, I don't know, I've got about 10 nails roughly. 10 to 8 in each board after I glue it. And I've only bent about 4 nails. I assume that's from hitting the head on the, or hitting the head of the other nail underneath, which is okay. I pinched my finger once, but I haven't hit myself with a hammer, which is good. Especially since I don't do a terrible lot of carpentry work. I tend to treat carpentry work more like metal work. Oh, things need to be squared off. There's some, can't believe it or not, there's some, that's dimensional lumber, but I squared it off and I took the corners off of it, made it more square. I made another workbench. Actually, this method here, this laminating up thing, I kind of got this idea from my father. He made a workbench like this, and man, is that thing heavy. He laminated it all up, and then I think what he did was he drilled holes, well, not completely through, but through each board. And he might have 3 or 6 holes in each board. Then he ran some all thread with washers and lock washers and heavy duty bolts, or nuts, excuse me. I think it might be, I want to say that 3/4 inch all thread. I've got that table downstairs. I've got a lathe mounted on it. I tell you, if you do that, that table is, I think it's 3x8, and it weighs a ton. Although it has stood up to the test of time. The top on that thing is, other than kind of having patina on it, is really stood the test of time. If you're going to build a workbench that way, which I don't recommend, but if you want to build a heavy-duty workbench and use that method, you need to really think about the support structure underneath the legs. The legs under that one are they're 4x4s, but you didn't cross brace them, so it's kind of got the woogity woogities. Let me shut you off here, and I'll be back. Ready for the last plank. I used a ton of glue. Glad I bought a bottle there. down to the other end and level it out. Wood is hard. I need a bigger hammer. I guess I'm never going to make it as a carpenter. I only hammered about 160 nails there, and bent 5, pulled them out. It's running out of steam. I only had one nail fly out of the way. Hopefully it's not in the driveway. Didn't hear it hit the concrete, so. These nails have a coating on them. I don't know if it's to keep them from rusting, or I wonder if it heats up and when it gets hot from driving, it glues the board together. I'll tell you what. After a few strikes, I just don't want to. They do not want to come out very easy. I am not worried about these coming out. Whew. It's not that hot today, but get a little work behind you and it starts warming up pretty good. So we're done. I gotta figure out how much this 10-ton monster weighs. One more nail won't make it any heavier. Okie dokie. Well, I'm gonna call this the back. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's a bit of a monster. That's okay. It's reasonably level. Looked at it a couple times with a square, the T-square. Wherever it ran away to, there it is. Yeah. It's not perfect, but it's probably the best I could do with the tools I had right here. So I'm going to go get the rest of the wheels and lay the wheels out, and I'll be back in a little bit. Take her easy. Well, we're back. What I've done now is I laid the wheels out. I'm using 6 wheels on this. Use as many as you want. And what I did was I put a fixed caster in the middle, and then 4 pivoting casters on the ends.
I spaced these back from the edge about 1 board length or width, so they're in, kind of give them a little bit of style. You don't want to right on the edge, it look dumb. And I spaced them in just enough so that you can get that. There's a board width there, and that's about 1/2 inch, so that red tab just pokes out there so you can push your foot on it and kick that baby to turn the brake on. I went ahead and marked those. I'm going to go ahead and drill them. And what I did was I looked at the, I had an extra screw out here. Oh, there it is. These were, I believe these were 7/16 lag bolts, and they're about 2.5 inches long, so they're going to go down into the wood pretty far. You could use carriage bolts and drill completely through, but I don't have a long drill bit, so I'm just going to call it good and use these. And what I did was I chucked these up in the drill, and I spaced it so that it's about that deep. So all I gotta do is run the drill clear to the bottom, and we're ready to go. I'm gonna use the drill. This drill has a nice feature. This is pretty level, and this, I don't know if you can see this or not, this drill has a little level built into it. It's really hard to see. It'll help me drill a hole straight. Then I'm going to use probably a battery-powered impact driver to drive those screws in. The diameter of those screws is about 7/16, I believe. And the drill bit I'm going to use is 7/32. Basically, whatever size the shank or the body of this is what you want. What I do is I held the drill up to it. Looked at it, it's just a tiny bit under where the threads are, so you're going to get a lot of threads digging in there. That's what you want. Well, let's drill. Something I'm going to do is I'm going to use my T-square and square up these holes a little bit. There's a lot of slop in there to move them around, but I want to kind of even them out a little bit. Yeah, that one's pretty even. What's this one? Those aren't bad. Okay. Yeah. We can do that. Let me just set one of these on here and take a good look at it. See how it looks. It's always easier to look at stuff a couple times than it is to... yeah, that one's not going to come out too... need to come up just a little bit. There we go. Well, let's drill a hole and see what happens. Oh, I suppose it'd help if you could see what was going on. There we go. How about that? Wood really drills nice. I'm going to pause you here or shut you off for a minute and go get my hammer drill or a hammer impact, and we'll see what we can do here. Well, I'm back. Let's see what I got a hold of. I got to thinking, you know, if this is supposed to be for anybody with few tools, you're not going to have a hammer impact wrench. So, I hope everybody's got a socket wrench. If not, give an excuse to go buy one. Okie doke. Well, so let's see how this fits in there. This will be pretty painless. Besides, the whole works good for the, I don't know, inside of a person. How's that sound? We'll throw the hardware up here. I thought about putting lock washers on these, but yeah, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Besides, darn store without a lock washer is the 60s. Which annoyed me to no end. Yeah, this ain't so bad. It'll take a while, but it'll be okay. Yeah, holes are pretty centered. Yeah, we got a ways to go. Yeah, one thing, it's getting tight. So, let's see. Can you see all this wackiness? Yeah. I'd like to thank all the folks that send me mail. Most of it is very kind. And people are just asking basic questions. I get an ornery one once in a while. You know what? Doesn't bother me. Actually, it may not be an ornery one. The way email works, it seems like half of them are ornery. Tell you what, we'll leave that a little loose. The impact gun would make this a lot easier. But somehow our forefathers survived. If I was a real man, I'd have drilled those holes with a brace and bit. Don't think I don't have one either. Actually, I got quite a few braces and bits. It's kind of a bygone era. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Looks like our good friends in India made these casters. Oh, good for them. Okay. See that or not, I used almost all that glue. So there was a couple bucks down the spout. Probably just added to the weight of this. That's okay. Your nosy neighbors are trying to figure out what I'm over here doing. They're probably afraid I'm building a atomic device or something. That was last week. This is different. Tell you what, those screws are really going in there nice. Snug those up a little bit, don't jump on them. Don't want them to strip out. Like I said, you could use carriage bolts and go completely through. A, you're going to probably spend a little bit more money on hardware, and B, there you go. Miss Dolly? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut you off here. I don't think you're particularly interested in seeing somebody screw in 24 lag screws by hand, but that's okay. I'll drill the rest of my holes and we'll be back in a little bit. Take her easy. Okie dokie. So, here we are. Here are all the wheels mounted. Several turns later, I think it took 40 turns a screw to put those in, so multiply that times 24. I had a bottle of champagne to break over this baby. Ooh, that's nice. It's heavy, but it's very nice. Okay, I guarantee you put something on that breaks that, you got a serious problem. I got about, I don't know, actually nothing worth talking about. There's about a dribble's worth of screw goo. And actually, apart from gathering the parts, I pretty much put that together in an afternoon. So you got all that lumber. There are there are 8 2x4s that were 8 foot long, and I cut them in half. There are 6 total casters. There are 2 fixed casters and 4 swivel casters. I don't know what they're worth. Probably could get those at the crummy tool store. I seen something very similar to them at Tractor Supply. And you can put anything on there you want as long as it's heavy duty. I don't know what that platform weighs. I bet it weighs 100 pounds. Hey, I didn't say it was going to be light. I used 24 7/16 by 2.5 inch lag screws for bolts, and 24 7/16 inch washers. You could put lock washers on there if you want, but I didn't. No big deal. I needed a drill. I'm trying to think what tools. There was no other hardware. Well, there was a box of nails. I used number 10 nails, or 10 penny nails, excuse me, and they were almost 3 inches long. They're like 2 7/8. And I actually did hit a couple of them with the other nails, and I drilled through one. So whatever. Just never mind. I'll tell you later. And I just laminated that all up. I used a bottle of wood glue. Like I said, I used a Tight Bond 2 Professional, waterproof. I used almost all of it. There's maybe 2 ounces at the most left. And it kind of stinks because now it'll dry up and turn into a mess. I might just throw it out. I'm trying to think of somebody I can give it to. I might just try and squeeze most of the air out of it. That could be a good experiment. Used more glue than I thought. I'll probably sand that all down a little bit with the belt sander, although I think I'm really tempted to leave it the way it is and just treat it with some deck finish or sealer. Good old linseed oil might work. I think I got a gallon of linseed oil the other day in some mad trade or at the auction.
Might be worth its weight in gold. I had a couple boards split a little, but nothing major. Trying to think if I used any other hardware. Screws, or lag bolts, washers, some nails. I probably bought too many nails. I bought a 5-pound box. There's a lot left. I think they make a pound box. You could probably get away with a pound. I don't know. I'll use them for something. You probably could use deck screws. You could screw together a drywall screws. Would work too. That might not be a bad way to go. I just, I don't know. Trying to, like I said, this is all the stuff you can get relatively easily. Probably the only power tool. Well, I used a hand drill, electric hand drill, to drill those holes for those lag bolts, and I tightened them in by hand. And I did use a cutoff power miter box or cutoff saw, but you could use a handsaw free to get a steady hand. I just didn't want to jack around with it, and I've got the tool already. So, am I allowed a little tiny cheat? Yeah. Few hand tools: a hammer, a socket set. I don't think I even used a screwdriver on that. I guess the socket set and the hammer were the only real hand tools I used. It's a pretty minimalistic project, really. Like I said, if you're moving something really heavy, some machinery, or you're not going to move too many household items with that. I guess if you can get it up there. It is pretty high up, I'll give you that. It stands about a foot above the ground, which isn't terrible. And it's 20, it's 24 inches wide and 4 foot deep. And it's like 3 and some change high. And the casters here have little brakes on them to lock them in place. This would be a nice project for if you had a maintenance facility for a big building or something, or moving some heavy desks or something. It's narrow enough to get through a doorway. You can always narrow it up. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from making it half that wide. Wheels might touch, but and as far as cost, kind of hard pressed. Like I said, the wood was 20 bucks. Probably all the hardware, the nails and stuff, was probably about 10. Another 3 for the glue. I probably got about $40 worth of actual money in this, and that doesn't count the casters. I don't know. You might be able to salvage some casters. I've seen steel ones. If you see an old toolbox, you don't have to have 6. I just threw that in there to kind of keep the middle from carrying, or the ends from carrying all the load. I don't know, I just wanted something indestructible. I don't think that's going to be any more destructible or indestructible than that. You could paint that gray. Paint it gray, lasts a long time, won't rust. There's nothing to stop you from putting some Formic on it, or carpet, or a little sheet of thin plywood. The plywood would get banged up, especially if you just screwed it down. Let the plywood get beat up, and then when you want to renew it, you just rip that off, put a new sheet on there. If you really wanted to strengthen that up even more, I don't know why you would. You could glue a sheet of plywood on each side, and that would probably triple the strength of that thing. I bet that thing's already pretty damn strong. I was thinking about jacking the pickup up and setting it on it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So there you go. There's the Heavy Duty Dolly, or the HDD, for those who have ADD. Or anybody that wants to build one, Don't be afraid to substitute lumber. Try some different stuff. Try different wheels. It's kind of a to be real honest, it's kind of I intended this to be a junk box project. This is all from stuff you kind of had around the house. The wood you could salvage from some demolition site. Although for how much wood is there, I really don't have a lot invested in it. You could get some cheaper wood. The only reason I got that wood is because it looked pretty good. It had good color to it, and it wasn't twisted and warped and didn't have a lot of bark and knots. I ran into a few knots. That's a little knotty, but not bad. They did have some cheaper lumber for $2.22, but it looked pretty barky. Sometimes, if you look, I was at Menards the other day, and they had some like scrap lumber for 50 cents a piece. They had some pretty good looking pieces there. So if you were building a little project, or a toy, you know, if you're building a toy. There's actually, on this project, there was no cut-off left over. There was no waste. I literally just cut those boards in half. So anyway, enough gib-gab. If you have a question or comment, or want to make one of these, then email it to me, or post a video response. That'd be cool. Like I said, it's just a project. You want to make a lighter duty one, that's cool too. You don't have to make a giant one. Maybe not everybody's going to move a battleship. I don't know why. I see lots of battleships for sale. So there you go. I know, don't quit my day job. So there you go. If you want to join my channel, subscribe. I might be doing some other wacky projects, you know. You just thumb through the videos, you'll see I do all sorts of different things. This is kind of a spur of the moment. Actually, this isn't spur of the moment. I've been thinking about this for 2 years and wishing I'd done it earlier. Anyway, take it easy. Have a good day.